Uncheck it. Welcome to Fitzdog Radio, New York City style, Upper West Side. Sitting at my friend Sarah Fearon's apartment. She's away for August. She gave her apartment to me and the wife. And we're here. We've been here for a few days. Digging the Big Apple in the summer. Very hot. Very beautiful. Very expensive. Holy shit. Every time we go out to dinner, it's $130 for the four of us. My kids don't understand how to order. I mean, this kind of quandary as a parent. Do you tell your kids you're not allowed to order good stuff? Because they order, drinks. My daughter's 18, but she orders drinks. And the waitress never cards her because she's with us. So we're complicit in some kind of a felony, I think. She'll get wine with her dinner. And so she'll get an expensive bottle of wine, a fucking appetizer, entree, dessert. And the entree is like, yeah, you got a rack of lamb? Yeah, I'll take the rack of lamb. Come on. Luckily, I'm making a few ducats, doing some spots in town, down at the Comedy Cellar and the Stand, seeing some of my old friends, hung out with Dave Attell until about 2 o'clock in the morning. He, of course, thought he bombed after fucking killing, after destroying, and then roasting me for about 15 minutes from the stage. All he could talk about was how he bombed. So made me feel better about what I thought was a bomb. I did 4 sets. One of them did not go well, and it's all I could think about for the rest of the night and this morning. It's tough. It's a tough racket. It's not like baseball. Baseball, if you hit 300, you're considered a first-rate batter. In comedy, you got to hit 95% of the time, 97. And last night was a swing and a miss on one of the shows. Hung out with Big J. Okerson and his daughter, who's very cool. She's my daughter's age. And hung out with Greg Giraldo's son, who works at the Comedy Cellar as a waiter. Good kid. It was nice feeling talking to the son of a guy that I really loved. Who else did I see? I saw Janine Garofalo, who makes me smile. Shane Gillis, who I'd never seen do stand-up before, fucking destroyed the room. Very funny, doing some Trump impressions. And yeah, he was good. He was very good. Who else? Annie Letterman and Dean Del Rey were around. They're both LA comics, but they're in New York. It was just a fucking blast. And I feel bad because I have friends that want to come out and see me do stand-up when I'm in New York, but it's not really like that. It's not like when I'm on the road and I'm happy to have people come see me do an hour and we hang out after the show and have dinner. But in New York, it's like I'm picking and rolling. I'm doing, 4 or 5 spots a night, and I don't even know how to put people on the guest list in New York. It's just not really done. It's not like that. I don't want to hang around with friends after a show because it's like when I'm in New York, it's like I'm at work. It's my workplace. And as much as I'd love to see my friends, it's just, I'm doing new shit. I'm doing new material. I'm fucking around. I don't want to be in my head that I've got people in the crowd that I know. Anyway, it was fun. And it's fun because you wake up in the morning and you got a pocket full of cash from the clubs and you grab a free meal. Oh my God, the food at the Stand is fucking amazing. Good feed. Been eating a lot. We're going to get some pizza tonight in Queens. We're going out. A friend of mine opened a pizza parlor in Queens, Astoria. And we're going to check that out. Yesterday, we went up to the Bronx to my Aunt Jo's house, and she is 94, and she lives alone in the house she was physically born in. And she's a character. She's got her tomato plants out back and her lawn, and everything is in disarray. She's 94. She just recently fell and broke her wrist, so now she's got a nurse's aide, kind of hangs around the house during the day. But up until a month ago, she was been alone in the house, taking care of her business, handling her motherfucking business, pimping in the BX. And so we came in and we straightened up, mowed the back lawn, trimmed the hedges, I cleaned up the basement, threw some shit out. We gave her a haircut. My wife is so sweet. She's so nurturing. She gave her aunt a haircut out on the front stoop, and then she plucked her chin whiskers, which you think, wow, that's disgusting. Not as disgusting as when she asked my sister-in-law to take dental floss and try to tie off, like she had like some skin flaps, and she heard that if you tie them off really tight, they die and fall off. So she did that. That's a labor of love. You got to really love somebody to fucking tie off like whatever, just blobs of flesh, discolored flesh. She should really go to a dermatologist. She doesn't go to the doctor. Never has. Has never gone to the doctor. And she's in perfect health. It's unbelievable. It makes you rethink everything. And she's in Pelham Parkway, and it's like a nice neighborhood with Italian delis, and there's bakeries, and it's like the 1950s still. There's like shops for each thing that you want, and great pizza, great Italian ice. It's a very Italian neighborhood, very Irish, and then now there's a lot of Dominicans as well. Very mixed, good neighborhood. And so I went up to, there's a great place called Vito's that sells, you order some mozzarella and they give you mozzarella in a bag, just sealed, a big fucking hunk of mozzarella. We picked some fresh tomatoes right out of her garden, picked some basil out of her garden. We bought her some nice virgin olive oil as a gift. Fucking sliced some tomatoes, some mozzarella, some basil, some oil. It was nice. We had a nice snack. And then we took the train back down to Manhattan, and I went out. So anyway, good times. I'll keep you posted. What else is going on? I got a nice note. I got a bunch of nice notes from people. By the way, I always love reading your stuff. Fitzdog@gmail.com. I get back to everybody. Read some stuff on the air. This came from a guy named Dennis Butner, who said, Fitzdog, the lost wallet scam is as old as time. I talked about how I found a wallet on the street in college, and I returned it to somebody, and then they tried to press me into a cult. He said, cult gets a bunch of wallets. They put $1 or $2 in it. Then they, quote, lose the wallet. Only nice people call and return it. You meet for coffee. You are now a mark to join the cult. Ta-da! You are now in a cult. Signed, the captain. What do you mean, the captain? Is that your nickname? I want the story behind that, Dennis. Write me back and let me know why. Did you make up the captain? I have a pet peeve of people that make up their own nicknames. Like the Fitzdog. No, I didn't make that up. My friends did. Nicknames also, we got some from Kenny Towns, said that one of my old college baseball coaches called me hybrid. I'm a type 1 diabetic and had to wear an insulin pump my freshman year. Since I would have to plug in and unplug it during games and practices, he decided to start calling me hybrid, as if I was using my pump to charge up my hybrid car. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. He still calls it to me that to this day. And I'm not a pussy or anything, so couldn't care less that he calls me that. Sounds a little bit like Kenny is trying to, he's trying to mollify that. I'm not a pussy or anything, so I don't care. I don't care if he calls me that. It fucking kills you, Kenny. Hybrid. Jack Britt. As many guys do in early high school, my buddies and I began to trade stories about our sexual escapades. Over-the-pants handies, toothy blowjobs, and other greatly exaggerated tales of our prowess. Isn't that terrible? Aren't we terrible? And I'm in that group. We talked. Whatever you did to us, for us, around us, ladies, we fucking talked about it. For seconds after, we were calling all our friends. And they all knew what you did. And then they all expected the same. We're gross. We're gross. I don't know. Maybe there's some guys out there who have class who didn't tell their friends. So anyway, one day, My buddy tells us that he talked his girlfriend into a trip up the old dirt road. Ugh. Astounded, we hung on his every word. He told us that everything was great until he was done and looked down. After nearly passing out with laughter, someone shouted, "Shit, Dick." That stuck for a few days, but we needed something a little more refined for public use, so we settled on Chili Dog. 20 years later, it's still his name in my phone. Well, that's revolting. This guy, Curtis Street, said, my friend group isn't really one that gives nicknames, but we have one friend who, for whatever reason, is a magnet for them. His name is John Gray Dundas III, which over time has evolved into Grundus, Grundy, G-Ray, Crocodile Grundy, El Croco, Johnny D, JD3, Joey Vina, and Grampy Dave. Damn. That's what I like. Fucking play around with it a little bit, riff on it, like jazz guys shooting heroin. Why do you think those guys had such great nicknames for each other? Mine was Fitzdog has been my nickname, but when I was a little kid, they used to call me Spike, and I have no fucking idea why, but I was called Spike for a long time. The only Spike that I know of was Snoopy in the comics had a brother named Spike, who was a man of mystery. Maybe that's what it was. And now, a message from our sponsors. Hey, look, the pandemic is over. Maybe it's just taking a break. Either way, your penis needs to get out of the break. Maybe it's having a hard time adjusting to this new world. But look, Tinder's out there. Grindr's out there. There's a new app for when you're drunk. It's called Stumbler. I just made that up. Anyway, get your penis in shape for this opportunity. If it's letting you down, Roman is here to get you up. That's right. Get a free online evaluation, ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. Gives you the confidence that you need. It's the summer of love, baby, 2021. They want to make sure you can participate. Be a part of it. Who knows what kind of activities you got going out there. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. This is easy. It's straightforward. Do it. Getting started is simple. Go to getroman.com/Fitzdog and complete an online visit. Take care of your ED without leaving your home. Complete an online visit today to connect with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. Go to getroman.com/Fitzdog today. And if you're prescribed, get 50% off your first month of ED treatment. Make sure you're ready to have confidence and control this summer. Roman ready. Hey now. All right, my guest today, I want to get to this. This was a really, really deep, solid, interesting, compelling conversation that I had with my very dear friend, Ed Crasnick. He is an actor, writer, comedian, producer. He's been on The Sopranos. He was on Ellen. He was on Curb. He's an Emmy-winning writer. He was on Hot in Cleveland, Just Shoot Me, Dr. Katz, Conan, Whose Line Is It Anyway? He produced on Dancing with the Stars, Win Ben Stein's Money, the MTV Movie Awards. He's got a few podcasts. The flagship, I think, is the Mental Health Comedy Podcast, where he talks to comedians, entertainers about life issues and practice mental health skills. So we sat down and talked this past week, and this is what happened when we talked with Mr. Ed Crasnick. We're live. Fitzdog Studios is alive. It's like Pompeii. The pandemic came and it went, but you come back to this office, nothing changes. You got a lazy boy sitting in the corner. You got a coffee machine, a mini fridge.
Well, when you said lazy boy, I thought you were talking about me.
No, Ed, I would never say that about you to your face.
Well, you would say lazy Jew.
Lazy Jew,
Yeah,
yes.
the Lazy Jew Ranch. Come on by.
There is nothing worse than a lazy Jew because your people work. And if you're the one that doesn't, you really stand out.
You do stand out.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing spectacular things.
Right.
And if you're just kind of mediocre, the worst thing in the world to be as a Jew is mediocre.
Yeah.
You do not want, in fact, that's my new show. It'll be on Fox every Sunday. It's called The Mediocre Jew. People love it because it's like, here's the one guy who didn't succeed.
Yeah.
Here's the guy.
Yeah.
Everybody else in the race succeeded.
Yeah.
This is the guy who didn't.
And the spin-off is the mediocre Asian student.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a whole block.
Right.
It's Fox's mediocre block. But that's, it is amazing during this day and age. I think people are just happy. I think the world is turning to being grateful for being alive.
Yeah.
I think there's like this thing where, like, if you're alive, it's like an achievement.
Yeah.
And I think that is that's changed things. And then, the other day I was talking to somebody and they were talking about COVID and they were talking about the lingering effects of COVID.
Yeah.
So you got it, and now 3 months later.
A year later for some people.
And a year later, and your breathing is not good.
Right.
It's
and
not
your
right.
Mind is cloudy and...
Now, this is me always, but I'm thinking to put that, to really be, and not know exactly what it is. Like the knowledge about COVID, like 10 years from now, will be like vast, and you'll be able to study and look back and say, oh, we just didn't know. But now, no one has any idea about it. This is like the Andromeda strain.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything, and we were just talking before the show about how I told you somebody dropped off a package for me and I let it sit for 2 weeks. Do you remember the early? And I love that people look back and they go, well, Fauci was saying this a year ago. Well, yeah, because we didn't fucking know. We're figuring it out as we go. But I left a package for 2 weeks without touching it. Those were the rules. People wore gloves. Even all this Purell that people are using, it turns out, didn't really need to.
Didn't need to.
Yeah.
But the other thing is public health. Okay, so I was listening to the Surgeon General on some program, and now this guy who's the Surgeon General not only is he a genius, but he's a humane person.
Yeah.
And so he says, you know what a public health issue is now? Loneliness.
Yeah.
That is a public health issue.
Right.
To our office. And, being somebody who's, involved in mental health and learning and looking, it's really interesting when public health issues become mental health, become environmental, but the thing is, what we don't have, there's a big industry out there. When you're a public health official, you have to be able to say you don't know when you don't know.
Yes.
This is like a big skill now. It is perfectly fine to say that I don't know. In this cancel culture crazed world, they think if you say you don't know, then we're all in big trouble because how could you not know?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we don't know. And to be honest about it is actually a very powerful thing to be able to do and not to be worried about it.
Yeah, I saw Fauci on Good Morning America this morning, and he was being interviewed by the guy that looks like Michael Dukakis.
George
Stephanopoulos.
That's great. Maybe it is Dukakis.
It really looks like him. Put a fucking helmet on him, sit him on a tank, and you got the same guy.
The Duke.
And so Fauci did exactly that. Stephanopoulos was hitting him with hard questions about this new virus, and is it more lethal? Will it affect children more than the other strain? And he said, I don't know. He said the facts are not conclusive. It's soft data right now, and he was very judicious, and he kind of always has been.
Yeah, you have to be able to say that and that is not acceptable. We love experts. We love experts, and then we like to blame them when they're not correct.
Right.
But the whole world is bent on what's your expertise? What's your expertise? Not knowing is a wonderful thing. You're going to find out. It doesn't mean you won't know. It means you don't know now.
Yeah.
And that's how you do find things out. You find out things by making mistakes, by trial and error, by experimenting. That's what science is. We don't know.
No, science is collecting data. And until there's data, there's nothing to conclusively say. We have to, it's only been a year and 5 months or so, 4 months, 5 months. And we're starting to learn patterns. We're starting to be able to put things together. But I think as far as if not knowing is an asset, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
I don't know shit. I read historical novels. I read biographies. I put them down. I can't remember anything. I don't know what I enjoy listening. I read the New Yorker every week, and then somebody will go like, "Hey, did you hear about this new shale oil thing that's going on in Toronto?" Yeah. I just read a 12-page essay about it. Oh, what'd it say? It's in Toronto, and I don't remember any of it.
Was there a time that your retention was much better?
No, it's always been bad.
Oh, you just don't know. Well, that's okay, but you experience it while you're experiencing it.
I do. I feel smart. I feel enriched. I feel my brain stimulated. It's like doing a Sudoku or a crossword. I do it.
Yeah.
But I really feel like this world, and let me ask you this, but this is kind of an interesting conversation. Is it fair that some people take like a Patton Oswalt with a photographic memory?
Yes.
And also computational skills, a guy who can really organize thoughts and have opinions that are... Is it fair that I'm judged against somebody like that when I have no recall? Is it fair that he's called smart and I'm not?
Is it fair? No, it's not fair. And it's part of the trial of the century that's coming up. We're going to present evidence in both cases. No, but is it fair? Look, here's the thing. The older that I get, and I can't get much older, but the older that I get, what I think is that thinking and using your brain as a tool and being aware, having awareness is the greatest gift that you can possibly have.
Yeah.
However, I would trade being able to be in a being state for thinking any day of the week. In other words...
You'd rather be in the moment.
I'd rather be in the moment, and I'd rather actually have an experience where when you're in a being state... Now, listen, you're listening to this, you're driving along, what the fuck is a being state? Well... The thing is, when you don't want for anything, and you're not thinking about when your phone bill is due, and you're not thinking about anything, but you're very contented in the moment. You don't want for anything. That's being in a being state. Sometimes it happens by accident. Sometimes it happens through great meditation. When it happens, that is what a human being is meant to be.
Yeah.
That's what you're meant to be. All the other shit is shit. and it's like stuff your brain does for fight or flight or its reactivity.
Yeah.
When you're in a being state, and that's why people like this guy Michael Pollan is writing these books about how to change your mind,
right,
and using plant medicine,
right,
and I know
using mushrooms.
Yes, and I know people that do this who are executives and very high level people, and it's completely changed their lives.
Really?
Completely changed their lives. And made them a lot more successful because when you're in this state of mind, you're very open to all kinds of things, and your problem solving becomes heightened because you know it's not all about you, and you're open to receiving, and you let other people go forward because you trust that you know things.
Yeah, sometimes I'll listen to a podcast and I will hear something that the guest said that I didn't hear when I was in the room with them. And I'll say to myself, you fucking blew it. She said something that was actually very compelling, and you were so in your head about what your next question was going to be that you skipped over listening. You weren't in the moment for that. And that would have been a better interview. And it's the same for any conversation you have with a human being. Yeah. A conversation is an improv. And without being connected and listening, the conversation can't ever really blossom.
Well, it happens all the
And let me tell you something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. You know, when you're hosting a podcast, you've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time. And I have to say that when you don't remember what happened and you were in the moment, that's when you know that it's good because you're really there.
Yeah.
There's no effort involved in this. This should not be an effort. It should be a connection between two people. And your intention, just like being a parent, your intention is to connect. It's not to get them to put their shoes on. It's to connect first. And then from that comes putting the shoes on and going to school.
Right.
But if you said that to parents, you know, they'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't have time to do that stuff. While we're busy not having the time to do things and rushing around, I'm actually not here. You might as well put a sign on your neck that says, I'm not here.
Right.
You know, it's like Major from Catch-22. You can please call me when I'm not in.
Right.
When I'm in, I can't see anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like that. So it's a lot less effort. And we think it's more effort. Now, we were talking about voice acting a little bit before. Every time I go on an audition, I think I have to do an audition. You don't have to do an audition. You got to be there. And you have to know who you're talking to. Even if it's an animated parrot. Who's he talking to? And where are you?
So what are the things that take you out of that? I know what they say puts you into it, whether it's exercise, meditation, mindfulness. There's a lot of techniques that bring you into it. What are you fighting against?
Unchecked thoughts that are my brain trying to solve things, where my brain is on high alert because it thinks I'm in danger.
So it's
Notice
fear.
how it's fear. But it's not my brain is not against me. My brain is doing its job. But emotions and thoughts are a two-way conversation. But we never learned that. We never learned that you can actually talk back to anything. It's a two-way conversation. It's like like you're just saying, you're having a conversation, but there's nobody, there's no one over there. And when your brain is doing its job and it says, "Oh shit, Greg, I think you're in danger because your phone bill is late. You're gonna die," then you have to say, "Oh, you're telling me I have to die. You're trying to protect me. I get it. I'm fine. Thank you for trying to protect me and doing your job. I'm fine. I'm just typing now." But no one ever explained. We think we're bad. We have a problem.
Why do we think
lost.
we're bad? Why is the human condition in this original sin still? Why is it that we all walk around trying to hide from people our worst fear, that we're phony, that we're inauthentic, that we're selfish? Where does that come from? Why is that our innate state?
From years of unchecked, machinations of the saber-toothed tiger. Goes back to the saber-toothed tiger when there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And you would get eaten. We think we're going to get eaten, but it's just a phone bill. Verizon's not going to come and eat you, but it's the same feeling. And so the lack of, but what you would think is, well, wouldn't people study this? Wouldn't they be aware of it? Wouldn't they make a thing out of it? Wouldn't that be the biggest study in the world, how the brain works? Well, for some reason, it's not, because you think it's a very complex, the brain is very complex. Yeah, it's complex, but if you don't know how it works, how are you going to be a human being?
Yeah.
Why are you a human being? Like how? It's like saying, I don't know where to put my key, but I have it in my pocket and I'll just sit in the car for a while.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? There is obviously a lot of progress in this direction. I'm finding the idea of mindfulness and meditation is huge, and it has been for, seems like about 10 years. People have started to kind of lock in on it. And Harvard, which you think, okay, you're the smartest, you're the most, not necessarily the smartest, but you are the most high-achieving high school kids in the country, meaning you come from homes where they have resources to give you SAT prep classes and to send you to Peru to learn a second language and help poor people, which looks good on your essay, whatever it is. But you get there, and then you work yourself into a anxiety attack But then they started a class about 7 or 8 years ago, and I think it's just called Happiness. And it is about literally what you're talking about, and it's the #1 most attended class at Harvard University.
Yale, this lady Laurie Santos has a huge podcast, right? And she's got a class and a school and a whole, these people have a lot of money behind them.
Yeah.
And but it's great. But the thing is that what we're trying to do, and it's not easy to do, but what we're trying to do is to say it is a practice. Mental health is a practice. It's not a topic. It's a practice. Mm-hmm. And you practice it. And you can practice it with very little effort. Mm. And the practice is everything that your brain is doing automatically, you note it. Mm-hmm. And then you respond to it. Mm-hmm. Not react, you respond to it. You say, okay, you're trying to protect me. That's anxiety's job. Anxiety gets a bad rap. That's anxiety's job. Anger, I'm doing another show about anger. It's all about anger. Mm-hmm. Because under anger sits every emotion. Gateway emotion.
I've always said anger is not an emotion. It's a reaction to an emotion.
And it is. But it has a message. Mm-hmm. And there are important messages that we need to listen to and attend to. Mm-hmm. These are messages. They're information. Yeah. And it's like somebody knocking on your door and you're saying, I don't hear it. Mm-hmm. Do you hear it?
Right.
I don't hear it. And then it gets so loud you get a headache and you're thinking, why do I have such a headache?
Well, why do we ignore it? Is it that we're afraid that if we acknowledge it, it might take us over?
Yeah. I mean, is that why do you avoid emotions?
I feel like that. I feel like I was raised to be a super achiever. My mother used to tell me when I first started doing stand-up, she said, you're going to host the Tonight Show someday. And I was like, I don't really want to host the Tonight Show. You will host the Tonight Show someday. And then I found out later, because, my father was in radio.
Yeah.
He told me my mother used to tell him, you're going to host the Tonight Show. I'm like, what is your obsession with the Tonight Show? Why didn't you marry Jack Parr, for God's sake?
Oh, my God.
And so I have always felt that if I don't achieve high, I'm worth nothing. And so I've always been afraid to, I guess, listen to the fear that's knocking on the door or the anger. I have a lot of anger. It spilled out yesterday. And I'm embarrassed when it does, instead of going, no, what's going on?
What's going on? There's a message here for me. It's someone has sent you a telegram. It's a message. Read the telegram. Make time for the... Look, we talked about not being able to say, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I know something is going on. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on. I'll figure it out. It'll make sense to me soon, but something's going on. I used to do this show with a psychodramatist on stage, and I loved it because...
A psychodramatist?
Psychodramatist, role play expert.
Okay.
So people would come on, they'd talk about their issue, personal issue, panel of 3 comedians, comedic actors, and he would guide them through acting out their shit before an audience.
Wow.
And it was the best show I've ever done, and it was the best show. I mean, this was amazing.
What proportion of funny versus deep was it?
50-50. Mm-hmm. And it was great, because what I realized is that when you're fully alive, you're feeling more than one emotion at the same time. When you're fully alive, you're feeling anger, you're feeling hurt, you're feeling excited, you're feeling happy. It's all of those things. But so why we're tired all the time is we're carrying around all those things. They're stored. And then when you watch a show where people are doing that, it releases it and you feel electric. And that's what the audience was. They were electric.
Is this why? Because I have just, when I get angry, anxious, I get tired.
Yeah, because the anger, the emotion is energy in motion and wants to come out.
Yeah.
And you're saying, don't come out. The most athletic people in the world are depressed. Well, why do I say that? They're like athletes because they're constantly putting pressure to keep everything down that wants to come up.
The pain.
Do you know how much force it takes to keep something down that naturally wants to come up your whole life?
Right.
If you unwind that force and you take the brake off, you got a volcano.
Do you know, I used to... run, and sometimes I would cry when I ran. And so what you're saying is that's what all these athletes want to do.
It's just a release. It's in there.
Yeah.
It wants to come, and you're saying don't come. You're saying don't come out. Not only don't come out, but you're bad if you come out. You're an idiot if you come out.
You're weak if you come out.
You're weak. You're fucked up if it comes out. What are other people going to think of you? And you're a failure if it comes out. So don't let it come out, no matter what it is. And you know what it is? It's a rhythm. It's an impulse. That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything. Or it was something you inferred when you were a kid, and it's still in there. And you're living your life based on a belief that happened when you were 7 that doesn't serve you.
Well, that's the thing I'm finding. I had an acting teacher who once said, there's one faucet for your emotions. There's not one for anger and one for joy. You can't turn on joy and leave anger and jealous and all that stuff off. There's one faucet. But that's the thing, is in terms of going back and childhood misperceptions that have created these paradigms in your mind that cause unhappiness. How much of therapy? Because I think about therapy as there's two types. There's Freudian, there's going back and trying to deconstruct everything, and then there's cognitive behavioral therapy, which is no, it doesn't matter. All that matters now is you've got this thought in your head about yourself, and you need to do what you're saying is look at it, answer it, correct it, and move on.
That's the gym. You went to the gym.
Which one is more effective, do you think?
Do it today, and then be aware of that it's a pattern that comes from wherever it comes from.
Yeah.
Just have the awareness of it.
Right.
Don't do anything about it.
Right.
Oh, this is a program. This is not me. This was my ancestors.
Yeah.
This is not even me. This is not even my family.
This is in my DNA sometimes. I mean, you're Irish. There is depression.
Well, I'm Jewish, but look at the
Irish.
But look at the DNA. Now, let's look at the DNA. Now we have, issues of diversity and inclusion that people are talking about these issues now. What's the DNA of somebody whose ancestors were slaves?
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, I don't care who you are. You're carrying, these people woke up in the morning as slaves, and they went to bed at night as slaves, and then they were tortured every day as slaves.
And then they had children that were taken from them.
And they died living that way.
Right.
For a whole generations of people.
And emotions become encoded into the DNA, don't they?
No matter what. No matter what, yeah. So intergenerational, and they're studying, this is a new study, they're studying intergenerational trauma and how that, but still, you have to say it in the moment. You have to look at it in the moment. Here's the feeling, here's the thought, here's the belief, here's what's going on. And I need to pay attention to these messages. Even if it's just the intention of awareness, even if you're not changing anything in your life, but it's like, I'm aware that I feel this shit.
Because?
Yeah, because, and let me just, sometimes if, with feelings, and I'm talking now, but I'm the worst at this. You just feel them. Like you don't really have to do anything. You just feel them and know that you're okay because you're having emotions.
Yeah.
Just feel them. They just want to be felt. So there's nothing can happen. It's so funny because the brain says you're in danger, but really you're in danger when you're not feeling. You're not in danger when you're feeling. You're in danger when you're not feeling.
It's amazing how not in danger most of us are. And I know this is speaking from, the perspective of somebody who was born middle class and is middle class. And, I'm never going to be homeless. I'm never going to go to bed hungry. Isn't that amazing? 3 meals a day times it's been 55 years. And I've never missed a meal that I had time for. And yet there's this deep rooted, like you say, it's this ancient fear.
Ancient. Yeah. Ancient and unchecked.
Yeah.
Ancient. Now you wake up in the morning and you're going to be a basketball player. Okay. You're going to the NBA. That's your life. You're going to practice basketball. If you practice basketball every day for 10,000 days, you're going to get pretty good at it. You'll get better. Even if you don't have any talent, you'll know what to do. All right. Think of how many times we practice this unconscious, I'm a bad person thing. This is millions of times. Millions.
Yeah.
And then we become very good at it.
Yeah.
So now we know how to do that.
Right.
But the funny thing is, one time of catching it and saying, oh, we've traced the call. It's coming from inside my head. I know what it is. I'm saying it.
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm not even going to do anything about it, but that's really interesting. Oh, I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then maybe a week from now, what if I don't say it? Okay,
well,
now
I'm not even saying it. My great-great-great-grandparents said it.
they said it.
Yeah.
But now, okay, so it's their thing. It's not mine. I'm going to make room for something else. And maybe tomorrow, when that same thing comes up, I'm going to note it. I'll say, oh, there it is. And then I'll say, I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially what TM is you sit in stillness and you notice your thoughts and you don't judge them, you don't correct them, you just make a note. You just go, oh, I'm thinking about the telephone bill that's past due. Okay? I'm thinking about that.
Okay.
That's it.
And then another there's so many other things. This lady that I work with, Jennifer Kalari, she's a great child and family therapist. But what she, one of the things that we talk about is imagination as a practice. Mm-hmm. And that rather than think about all the shit that you don't want, you can actually change the direction of your brain and the neurons that fire. You can get them firing in a different way, even if they've been firing the same way for 50 years. Mm-hmm. By doing very simple things like imagining that you're sitting at the beach in the house that you grew up in and you're on the porch and you've just come back from swimming in the ocean and you're drying in the sun. Mm. Now imagine it. Close your eyes for 1 minute and feel it. Now open your eyes and go on with your day. And the power of that is exponential. Mm. And you can do it anytime you want.
It's interesting because you think about this is vacation time. People are taking time off from work. They're taking their savings that they've worked hard for. They're getting in a car maybe for 6 or 7 hours to get to a lake house. And then the hope is that you're going to experience that moment where you got out of the lake and you're sitting on the porch drying in the sun. And that emotion, you want to feel that emotion. And what you're saying is you can bottle it.
Have it now.
Right.
And you can do that with anything. Yeah. Anything you've ever experienced. Mm-hmm. You can do it with anything. It can be a simple thing. It can be sitting in I remember a thing when I was playing under a pile of leaves. I grew up in Dorchester in the 60s. Still remember it to this day because I wasn't efforting. And for me as a kid, not to be worried for a minute was like, and that was crazy. Yeah. So why did that happen? I remember it. Mm-hmm. And I can go back there. Do I? Not often. I do all the shit that I'm saying to you. Yeah. I'm doing it constantly every day. But one interruption, you want these little interruptions and you want these pauses in between the thought and the reaction. Yep. You just want a little pause. You just want to make a little space. That's all. Right. You can do it any time. But again, you're playing basketball. This is practice. Yeah. And it's not when you say the word practice, it's like, oh shit, something else I got to do. Mm-hmm. No, this is like it could be a joy for you. You can take a mental vacation anytime you want.
I do TM, and this morning I sat down and I put on my Bose noise canceling headphones, and there is resistance at first of like, oh, I got to do X, Y, and Z, and I got to finish these 7 half-thoughts that are in my head. And then I stop, and as soon as I put on the headphones, it's almost like a trigger for me to go, oh, no, you get to take a break. You get to not think about any of that stuff for 21 minutes. That's what I said. I set my timer for 21 minutes. And I feel my body release, and then when I'm done, all those little half thoughts, you realize like, no, they're not thoughts at all. I can leave those alone, or I can complete them, but they're small now.
This is what, and the thing is, this is every day, any moment, any time, anything, anywhere. It's all available. Yeah. And they're all simple. They're not, you don't have to go to school. Right. You don't have to go see a therapist. Mm-hmm. You don't have to study. Yeah. This is not to say that those things aren't important, but really in any moment you can do any of these things. And it's just the next time you're at Safeway and you're at Ralph's or wherever you shop and you get overwhelmed, Close your eyes for 30 seconds. Close your eyes for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And just breathe for that time. Open your eyes, go shop.
Right. And now there's a lot of emphasis now on breathing techniques. It's huge. I mean, there's centers where you go and you breathe. And simple box breaths, just 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds out, hold that for 4. Do that for a minute, and you'll be shocked how much calmer, physiologically, how things change.
Well, that's like there was a teacher, and I started going to her class. She's a breathing teacher.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah. She teaches these kids. The woman is amazing, and it's rhythmic breathing for like an hour.
Wow.
And
really?
What happens to you with that is that when you do that kind of thing, you have an experience of mushrooms. You
That's
have
what I've
the
heard.
mushroom experience,
Right.
but without any drugs.
Right.
You're having it. And what happened to me the first time I did it was I knew the answer to everything.
Wow.
Like any problem I was
Really?
having in life, I had the solution.
Right.
I was excited. I
Yeah.
knew where to go. I knew what to do.
Yeah.
And it was all firing because my brain was firing. My brain was alive, and I was breathing. I was giving it nourishment. So that's, now.
And also, your mind was clear, like a meditation. Your mind was focused on the breathing, so it wasn't cluttered with other stuff.
Right. You're just focused on breathing. And, she gives people things that you can do it in a minute. You can do, like you say, with the box breathing. But just all this.
So it's an hour, and are there different levels of the breathing? You change. Some are deep, some are fast.
Yeah.
And
it's to music.
But she's leading you through it like a yoga
She's leading you through
class.
it, but leading it really, she's very good at leading you at the right times and then being quiet when it's not the right time to be talking.
Right.
And that's where
write that fucking number down for me right now.
I will.
Is she actively doing
Canada.
classes right?
Canada.
Oh, she's in Canada?
But you do it online.
Oh, you do it online?
Yeah.
Dude, can we give her a plug on the podcast?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Because if the listeners are anything like me, it's like, I can't wait. I'm going to get my family to sit down and take this class.
Hang on. Yeah. Well, you
Or, give it to me later, and
give
I'll
it to
do
you
it in
later.
the intro for the podcast.
do it. Yeah.
I'll give you the intro
Because
out.
she's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. She does like a Friday night thing, but it's like a
Really?
donation, and you do it. And
Wow.
yeah.
No, because, I'm hearing about studios now, breathing studios. It's the new yoga.
Yeah.
And I did, Jesus Christ, I did yoga on the beach last night. We do this 6 o'clock yoga class at sunset on the beach. And we sit there, and that was what she said to us last night was, the past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. There's only right now. And that is the message that comes through in all of this type of thinking, is just, it's Deepak Chopra, it's Eckhart Tolle.
Anybody.
It's the power of now. It's
Rumi.
just now.
Anybody.
Right.
Look, all right, you're listening right now. You don't have a job. You have lots of bills. You don't know when you're going to get your next job. You're freaking out. You're panicking. You have a family. You don't know what to do. And you're going crazy. All of the things that you're thinking about in the past and all of the things that you're thinking about in the future are not happening now. Let them go. Don't do it now. What's causing you pain and what's causing you panic is that your mind is taking you to horrible places where you are not in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of it. Don't go to those places. How do you do that? Take a breath. And be aware of what you're thinking. You are creating pictures in your head that you're going to get thrown out of your house.
Mm-hmm.
You are creating pictures in your head that you'll never work again.
Yeah.
You are living in those pictures, and that's why you feel like shit.
Mm-hmm. And the key word, like you said, is practice, because when you go into a highly anxious state, it's very difficult to take one of these techniques that you've been told about and suddenly put it into practice. You have to do the meditations every day. You have to do these 1-minute breaks every day as soon as you feel it. You have to practice breathing. You have to practice mindfulness. When you eat, don't eat standing up watching TV. Don't eat with food in your lap while you're driving. Take, even if it's 15 minutes, and sit down properly at a table with no media and focus on your meal.
You could try it. And
Right.
if you have a day where you don't do any of that and you can't do any of that, you say to yourself, I'm aware that I am running away now.
Yeah.
And I'm not a bad person for it.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody does that. That's part of being a human being. And okay, I'm running away today.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I mean, look, we all had this when when I was a kid, I thought I was a bad person 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it so often I had headaches.
Did your parents kind of ride you? Do you think some of it came from your parents?
No, my parents never rode me. But what they did was I witnessed them being in a great deal of pain emotionally. And they were struggling a lot because they didn't know they were...
Within their marriage or just personally?
Well, they didn't know that they were okay.
Yeah.
And no one did or questioned it in those days.
Right.
And they grew up with parents who were awful, and their parents were awful because they were immigrants and they came from a place where their life was awful.
Right.
So, you this keeps going on. And just with the one thing I'll say about my family is they always went to therapy when it wasn't fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
When nobody was doing it, they were doing it.
Yeah.
So they at least, they knew and they wanted to, have my father.
If it weren't for the Jews, the rest of the country wouldn't be into therapy. You guys brought it here.
Well, listen, therapy, the movies. Okay.
Right.
The American Dream.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Absolutely.
Came from the Jewish immigrants who were the garment workers and then went to Hollywood to make movies.
Was Alger Hiss Jewish?
That's a really good question. I should know the answer to that.
Okay. See if he's on your team.
Member of the tribe, on the team. Yeah. No, listen. I mean, the thing is that whatever you do, whatever you're doing, you have relationships with people. Have the same relationships with your thoughts, with your feelings, and talk to yourself the same way you would to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Try it, even if you don't believe it and you feel like it's bullshit. Try it.
Yeah.
See what happens. See if it changes your state. Because what you want is something that changes your state in the moment. You want to feel like crap, and then you do a tiny little shift, and you don't feel like crap.
Yeah.
And whatever that technique is, that's something to pay attention to.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Time is something that, like, I realize when, like you said, when you go deep into a state of whether it's breathing or even an activity like reading, for me has always been a meditation where I come out of it and sometimes I'm like, holy shit, I just read for 3 hours. I sat down, picked up a book on a Sunday, and 3 hours later, and I realized I had no other thoughts during that time except getting immersed in this novel. And time, and then when things are bad, I have no time. I have no time for this. Whatever moment I'm in, I'm not present in because I'm thinking of the next thing.
Right.
And I'm about to go away for like 16 days tomorrow morning. And I have been so fucking anxious because I do 3 podcasts a week and I'm trying to get them all done before I go away so I don't have to think about them or tape them, in a hotel room. And then I realized, so what if I do? What if I do tape one in a hotel room? And what if I go see my mother and it isn't bliss? It isn't like, oh, I haven't seen you because of the pandemic and so great. What if it's just okay? That's fine. That's fine. I had to lower the stakes of everything I was thinking about because I was there instead of being here. I couldn't even pack because I was thinking so much about, I was incapable of doing simple things because I was so fixated on the future.
And then this is that trick that my mind play. Oh, this is that thing again. And so being able to note it and say, this is what I do when I get anxious and my anxiety, but my anxiety is really trying to protect me. I'm not in danger. I'm just going on a trip.
Yeah, right.
And so, there's that awareness is amazing. It's freedom. It's a freedom.
Yeah. I,
by the way, also do 3 podcasts and did not get it done and still haven't gotten it done. And so I'm behind.
Yeah.
So I'm not, and I'm trying to say to myself, you're not dying. You're okay. Everything's going to work out.
Right.
It will work out. Maybe you need somebody to help you. I'm looking at all different options then. And there are certain things.
The podcast is a little bit of a Chinese water torture, isn't it? It's because it's every week. It's there every week, all three of them.
But what's hard to do, and I'm trying to learn how to do it, is to figure out what you do well. Yeah. And stop doing the stuff that you don't do well, and figure out who can help you with that. Because I'm just not. I'm good at talking, and I'm good at having conversations. I'm good at thinking of ideas and creating stuff. I'm not good at anything at all the other stuff. I'm just not good at it. You want somebody else doing that. Yeah.
My father taught me that. He was very big into hire other people to do things you don't do well. He would always say to me, figure out, once you have a career, figure out how much you make per hour when you're working. And then think about mowing the lawn. Some people, it's therapeutic to mow the lawn. If you look at it as a chore, how much does it cost you to hire somebody for that hour? Now compare that to the hour you make and decide whether or not it makes sense to spend that money.
Well, he's a very wise man.
Because you could take that hour you're mowing the lawn and apply it to your career and make that amount as opposed to losing a much smaller amount. And I think it also sort of steps out to being your emotional energy as well.
Yeah, I mean, and figuring out how to work cooperatively. The idea of money, the bartering and the I'll help you, you help me, we help each other. Yeah. Thing. There is a lot to be said about that, especially in this day and age. People realize that they're connected and that they need to help each other. Yeah. So there's a lot more spirit of cooperation that could be possible. I mean, you can help somebody do something that's not easy for them.
That's actually an upshoot of the pandemic, as I found there was a lot of that. There was a lot of cooperation. There were older people in my neighborhood people were getting food for. There was, just simple stuff. I just found overall people we had a friend get cancer and she had to be driven to chemotherapy. And I just felt like there was so many ways that my neighborhood came together during the pandemic and people were not traveling as much. So we were around, we were in each other's lives more than usual. And I felt myself getting very close to some of my neighbors.
It's great. It's a great thing.
How's your neighborhood? You have neighbors you're friends with?
Yeah. I mean, some people, the people directly across from us, we did some nice things for each other, and it was great. I have to say, we did it. We took a trip back east, and I'm from Dorchester. Yeah, my daughter and I took a trip. And we reconnected with family that she's never met before. Really? There's a complete family in Maine.
Oh, no kidding.
That she's never met.
Wow.
And there's a lot of people in Boston that she's never met. We've never gone back there. Yeah. So
why have you never gone back there?
A lot of struggles out here. And so I've been, it's been 6 years. Right. I'm from Boston. I'm from Dorchester.
What part of Dorchester?
Codman Square.
I don't know.
Area, Ashmont.
Okay. By Quincy.
That kind of thing. Yeah. But that's my home. This is not my home. It's still not my home.
I feel after 21 years, I still feel like New York is my home.
Well, it's your home. I mean, I don't know if it's a thing where, home is like where you come from and what your orientation is and where you grew up and have those memories, that history. I don't know if that's it. I'm not sure what it is, but as soon as the plane hit Logan Airport, I'm home. Yeah. And I haven't been there in a long time. Yeah. So we had this, I have a lot of family in Maine, and they all live near each other, and they all like each other seemingly, and they all connect. And so all that community came around us. And
how did your daughter respond to that?
Soaked it in.
She did?
Oh yeah, because that's.
What is she like? 23?
No, she's 16.
Why did I think you had an older? Okay, 16.
Yeah, and she, and like me, I'm a real communal person. Yeah. A community is everything to me. And I have become the most isolated, to call somebody, one person during the week, a friend, is like an enormous thing. Yeah. One night I went over somebody's house for a barbecue, and it was unprecedented. Wow. And I'm Mr. Community. Right. So I've really gotten into that habit. I think it's going to be very interesting when people figure out who can work at home. I think it's going to be very interesting to figure out how to balance your life and also how to balance your work. If you work at home and it's 6 o'clock, there might be something that happens at 7 and you do it.
A work thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just do it.
Yeah.
You're home. There's the computer.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say, it's 6, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's over.
Right.
And now I do this. And then I take care of my mental health. And then I do all these things.
Yeah.
And there's time for it. And I think that's the weird thing about I don't commute. I'm working at home. And there's less time for everything.
It's amazing. I had that thought this morning. I can't remember what app. I was on some kind of time-saving app, and I said to myself, why is it that there's all these developments in technology to make my life easier, and I feel like there's less time?
Electronics. I had to research a story a long time ago about Steve Jobs, and no one at that time had a personal computer. They didn't have it. Mm-hmm. He was introducing it to the world.
Yeah.
He comes on the CBS News and they say, "Tell us about this." And he says, "This is going to be in everybody's home." And then he doesn't say it's going to be a great tool. It's going to change your life. It's going to be amazing. You're going to have more leisure time. This is all that he said. He said, everyone will have one and it will be very seductive. Mm-hmm. That's the head of Apple.
Yeah.
Says that.
Right.
And he's trying to introduce it to the world.
And then once it comes out, then they start trying to spin it that it's altruistic and that, hey, it's going to help us take stock of what crops are in Kenya and we can feed the people. It's like that. No, people are using it to masturbate and they're using it to play games.
Yeah. The same thing as any drug or any tool. Now, it could be a great tool. It certainly has a capability of being an amazing tool. But it's a tool. You're the instrument. This is the tool. Mm-hmm. The phone is a tool. You're the instrument. The phone is a tool. And then I would say, you were talking about intergenerational stuff and do you have to go back and in therapy and do these things? I had a teacher once who said, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so all you got to do is what's ever happening right now. And
it's very Buddhist, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's true. You're doing it the way you've always done it.
Right. And
look at that and figure out if that's the way you want to live or if it's not the way you want to live.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Right.
And it's look, if my daughter listened to this, she would say, "You are so full of bullshit right now." I know these things intellectually. I've known them since I was 5. Mm-hmm. I had this awareness when I was a kid. Am I doing something different, even the littlest thing? And, try it. Mm-hmm. Listen, you can try it, right? I can try it.
Well, you try it, and life is a game of inches. And if I feel slightly better, that's huge because you sometimes don't believe that your state can change at all. You really feel like, especially because I have depression that's genetic and it runs in the family, and it's something that I really strive. As I said, I meditate, I do yoga, I go to therapy, and I fucking battle it. I really do. At the end of my life, I want my headstone to say he tried. And then the times I get really down is when I think I can't change, that I'm not capable of changing. And then when you do that like last night, I didn't want to go to yoga on the beach. I had shit to do. And like I said, I'm behind on these podcasts. And rather than do that extra podcast, I went, no, you need to be at the beach with the sun on you and the breeze blowing in and my wife on the next mat so that when we did our stretches, we were holding hands at a certain point. That's what I needed. And I did it. And I walked away feeling incrementally better, which had a ripple effect, which made me have better show. I did 2 shows last night. They were better shows because I said, no, you need this time. You need to go do this thing. Mm-hmm. And so the action doesn't have to be huge, but the fact that you took it means you took stock in yourself and you believe that you deserved something better, which in turn brings something better.
Yeah, that's well said. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, first of all, it's great that you made all those choices and gave that to yourself. And secondly, how lucky you and I are to live in a place where we can actually do those things.
Oh, everybody doesn't live near a beach?
Well, most people
We're
do.
at 72 degrees year round.
No, I know. It's like, you know, but whatever it is, just a moment. It doesn't take more than a moment. It's just a moment. Or it's just saying, man, I really put myself through a lot of shit, and I'm really laying a lot of shit on myself right now. Just to say that.
Right.
Oh, wow. This is fucked up. This is crazy. This feels crazy because look at what I'm telling myself.
Right.
Anything. It's an exciting time. It actually is an exciting time in mental health, and it's an exciting time in the world of how we take care of ourselves. Well,
let's talk about your podcast and how you deal with this stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for over 10 years. I've been doing this thing where uniting mental health and comedy and trying to talk to professionals, experts, who will demonstrate with comedians, because I believe the comedians are the bringers of the change of mental health. I believe that's the best way to do it because they're going to make fun of it. They're going to be funny anyway. They want to go deep. They want to go inside. It's very easy for them to be introspective. And it's going to be entertaining. So what's the best way to teach these tools and these practices and these simple skills? Get comedians, unite them with experts, and then demonstrate it.
Right.
So I've been doing that for 10 years, okay? I fuck myself up in so many ways that I'm not a household name because I get in my own way.
Right.
However, it's a practice. The show is people coming in, my partner, Jennifer Kalari, who has a whole company and an organization, or my partner, Rini Jain, who has Go Zen, and Jennifer Kalari has Connected Parenting. These are very successful people in the field of resilience and applied positive psychology, and they teach these skills, and they're tangible things that you can do in any moment, and then the comedians practice them. Eddie Pepitone, try this. That's what the show's supposed to be. It's called the Mental Health Comedy Podcast. It's a good show. It's got a lot of really good, useful content. If you try the things that she says, they work. And they're really simple. They're confoundingly easy, and you can rewire your brain.
That she focuses on children, mostly?
Everybody.
Yeah.
And what she calls it is self-parenting.
Okay.
So there's a field called self-parenting, and it's both for parents and it's how to take care of yourself. And it's something parents really need to do, is to learn how to parent themselves. So anybody can use these things, and it has a you're learning how your brain works, and you're learning that feelings aren't the enemy, and you're learning that anxiety actually has a purpose, and you're learning that anger has a purpose. And
somebody said to me once, if you want to, don't ever treat yourself or speak to yourself in a way that you wouldn't talk to your own child.
Yeah, I mean, but or write down what you're saying to yourself. Just write it out.
Yeah.
And look at it, and you'll be horrified.
Right.
You'll be horrified.
Yeah.
And it's like, no wonder I feel like shit all the time.
Yeah.
I'm telling myself a lot of shit all the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's why I can see where comedy intersects with that, because so much great comedy starts with self-deprecation. You come out, you say you're fat, you say you're bald, you say you can't get laid, whatever, and people connect to that, and then they see you process it because you have to react to that. You can't just say it. You have to have a funny reaction to that, and I think that's very cathartic for people to see.
It's very cathartic, and what I find is that the comics who come on, I want them to be funny. I want them to be real first.
Yeah.
And then if they're funny, that's great. But most of the time people come on, they're not funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is my dilemma now. I find for myself, too, if I was just doing the show myself, I would be more comedic. But I find, and I'm interested in this stuff, too. And I find that I'm very interested. I'm very interested in the idea of comedians being mental health advocates. And I have a whole program where we're trying to train people.
Yeah.
Really train them and put them through something where they can actually help not only the comedy community first, because who are the most isolated people and who are the people who need it the most often? Comedians, entertainers, people like that. and then teach it to the world. Then you teach it to the world, and you teach it by creating content that mixes humor and emotion. It mixes humor and emotion.
Right.
It's really, we did a show called Therapy Squad Emotional Crimes Unit 10 years ago.
That's hilarious.
It was great. Eddie Pepitone, a lot of people in it, good actors. And I made it up, but it's basically the LAPD is very upset about their publicity. They want to get some good press. So they're going to start studying emotional crime. They realize now that crime starts in the brain. It starts in the head with what you do to yourself.
Right.
Then you take it out of there and you hurt people.
Right.
So we're going to study it. We're going to give it codes, and we're going to put cops in therapy. And we're going to give them sensitivity training. But of course, we're going to pick the worst cops in the world to do this, who are ill-equipped for anything.
Yeah.
And we're going to put them through, and we'll see how it goes. And you have Eddie Pepitone doing role reversal with another cop who's his mom. And he says, "Hi, honey, how was school today?" And he immediately goes for her throat. So you have a lot of that. It was great. It was 20 years ahead of its time. And anyway, the idea is to create this content. Like, I had a thing, my wife hated it, so I didn't put it up, but to advertise our show, I had a beautiful flower picture of flowers, and it said, "I'm a piece of shit." And then underneath it said, "I'm at peace with shit." And then it said, "The Mental Health Comedy Podcast."
Nice.
So that's what I love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to make, I had the therapist I did Monsters of Mental Health was like a whole series. And it was 50s movie posters. Attack of the 50-Foot Emotion. The Therapist from the Black Lagoon. Did I get a check from you this week? It's all that shit. There's so much comedy around mental health now.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, do the comedy, but give the tool underneath.
Right.
Give them both.
Right. Yeah, I mean, all good comedy, not all, some comedy is just funny, but the stuff that sticks with you really does come from those, like Bill Burr is actually incredibly vulnerable on stage. People think of him as just like an angry, shouting comedian, but he's really looking at himself. He's really looking at his insufficiencies and his fears, and then he yells about them and he churns it through his system and he comes out the other side. And I don't know that you feel like he's learned anything, but at least he's explored something. Well,
he's got like the thing that a real artist has, which is you don't want to look good. He's not trying to look good.
Right.
If it's very hard to look bad. You have to have a lot of confidence.
Right.
He's a real artist.
Yeah.
He's not trying to look good.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that. It's like, I want people to like me. I want to look good. Still have that in me.
Yeah.
You got to say, I don't do this well. I'm not good at it. And I am scared that I'm so poor at it.
Yeah.
And, I don't like it. So, yeah, I mean, I've never been able to write like that. And I've always wanted to. I'm still I'm trying to, there's a part of me that's trying to look good.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I want to show you the shit, but I also want to look good. I want you to think well of me. And you can't live that way because you can't do it in art because you're not giving people an experience.
Right.
You want them to. When you read a book, you want to experience it.
Yeah.
You don't want to read. If you're reading it, you're not experiencing it. You want to experience it.
Yeah.
Right? When you're watching Breaking Bad, you're experiencing it. You don't know what's coming. And you're having an experience. It's not a lot of TV gives you that. The best does.
Yeah.
But the writer doesn't want to look good.
Right, but the stuff that stays with you is the stuff that you connect to, and it really is specific. It really is, what is it about yourself? I've always thought, like with stand-up, my best bits came from when I had a feeling or an experience or a thought about myself that I'm embarrassed about, that I wouldn't tell my best friend, and then bring it on stage and explore it. That's where the good bits always come from.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's true. You have to have...
And I don't do that enough.
Well, the fact that you do it at all is like a big thing. You have to be able to say to yourself, I know that thing that I want to look good. Listen, this is not something I feel good about.
Yeah.
And that it's that way with, revealing emotions and revealing what's going on with your mental health, with what you do. And then if you can make it, then you make it funny on top of that.
Right.
I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's scary stuff to say to yourself and to actually believe.
Yeah.
And then it could transform very easily. But you have to be able to say it.
Right. And I've even found, like, I had a therapist once tell me that I was performing for her.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to stop and go, why am I spending all this money to sit for an hour and convince somebody that I'm a good person?
Yeah. I'm sure I had a therapist say to me, I'm sure you're very funny, but that's not why you're here.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it is funny, too, because comedy for me, I'm kind of having an existential crisis with my comedy right now because I'm not feeling funny, and I'm not walking on. There's been times in my life where I can't wait to get on that stage and churn it out, and I've got a bunch of things, but I'm much more introspective lately, and I'm kind of gotten. I think the pandemic made me very serious, and I think the fact that for 30 years I went on stage 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, 7 nights a week, nonstop for 30 years. And then suddenly I had 15 months where I didn't go on stage once. And all of a sudden I was dealing with my feelings in a different way. I used to bring them on stage, process them, come home with a bunch of people having just laughed at me. And that factored into my well-being. My whole psyche there was an element of it that was getting this surge of acceptance. And without that, I found other ways to get it. And now trying to go back into stand-up, I'm not finding I'm bringing the same rawness to the stage that I used to because I found other ways of I don't know if it's healthier, but I almost associate dealing with these feelings in comedy as unhealthy.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's you've learned a new way to do it. But it's very interesting because you're going to be able to bring, if you bring that to the stage. Yeah. Man, I don't know what happened to me, but all of a sudden I didn't need audiences that I didn't know. I didn't need their approval to deal with my own health. Yeah. What am I going to do now? Boy, you people are in trouble. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, right. Don't get me wrong. I still want you to buy my DVD after the show, but I don't need you to laugh for the next hour. I don't need you to laugh. Right. A lot of people need it. I don't need it.
That is the contract with the audience, is you are watching somebody up there need you. Yeah. It's a very symbiotic relationship. They need to laugh, and you need them to laugh. And without... You can feel it from some comics. That's why I think we never liked good-looking, well-adjusted comedians. They're boring, and we resent them because we feel like, you don't need this, right? Sebastian Maniscalco. You're a good-looking guy. You don't... he's actually a bad example because he is very funny, but I'm trying to think of there's good-looking comedians that you just go no, you didn't feel any pain. You don't hate yourself.
Well, I always felt like you have to do it. It's something that you must do. Yeah. And if it's something that's I think it's kind of cool and I'm choosing to do it. Yeah. It's a little weird to me. Right. I think there are lots of other things you could do, but I never went on stage to make people laugh. I went on stage to express myself. Mm-hmm. It was I figured if I could be my whole self in front of people, that would be great. Yeah. Not because people would like it, but because it would be great for me to be able to say all this shit. That's why even as a host, my goal always was to be more Jack Parr, which is there are some nights I'm going to be depressed. There are some nights I'm going to feel angry. There are some nights I'm going to have a mixture of all kinds of things. Still hosting the show, but a full human being is hosting. And as a host, you're supposed to serve the guest or serve the audience. But I feel like being a full person is the goal.
That is how I feel, and I never buy it. When I hear Ellen DeGeneres say, I do this because I want to bring joy to people, you are so full of shit. And not just her. There's so many comics that say that, my journey is that I was given this gift, and I just want, when I see people smiling, it makes me bullshit. You're trying to validate yourself. You're trying to explore yourself, but it all comes down to yourself. That's why you're on stage.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and there's great, to me, the biggest freedom would be that you're showing all different parts of yourself while you're doing the job. That's why Johnny Carson was like the greatest host in the world for that format. But Jack Parr was a genius because he was vulnerable while he was doing it. There was something, he showed some things that maybe weren't appetizing to the world.
Right.
You know, he was hurt on camera and he looked, you know, I mean, again, we go back to like the artist thing. You're having an experience. You're really present with somebody. You're listening to them. But that's the thing, you know, that's why I really want to create this stuff, you know, around mental health that both is, you know, that you can practice. It's a tool. You're taking that away from it. But in the meantime, you're making fun of so much of it because it's so crazy how people can, you know, look at something and completely act the same way.
Right.
And miss what they're, you know, even me right now. I mean, there's so much that you can miss and you don't have to do a lot. You know, but this is the biggest time. There isn't anybody in the world who doesn't talk about mental health now. Great. Yeah. Much better than the 50s. Right. Much better than lobotomies and much better. Fantastic. Okay. It's not a topic. It's a practice. If you talk about it all day, because sometimes it feels like Twitter. It feels like live Twitter where people, you get depressed on that? I get depressed that way. You get depressed that way? I get depressed that way. You're upset about it? You hate your parents? I hate my parents. And it's like fantastic, but what are you doing? Like what, how can you know, hey, let me tell you what works. Let me tell you what works for me. Let me tell you something that I did that actually shifted things. Or let me tell you what, you know, I'm aware of something and I want to, you know, because otherwise it's not something that you talk about. It's something that you do.
Yep. Okay. Well, here's what people are going to do. They're going to listen to your podcast. It's called, what is it called again?
It's called the Mental Health Comedy Podcast. And you can find it's with Ed Crasnick and Jennifer Kolari. It's one of 3. I know you've got 3.
Yeah.
This one, and I've got another one called Dear Anger, which is coming out. And it's a show about anger. And it's with Renee Jane, who has a company called Go Zen. She's amazing. She teaches through animation. She's brilliant. And then I've got another one on solutions journalism, which are stories that are all over the world that are every day in the news services, but you don't hear about them because you have to crawl through a lot of crap to get there.
Right.
So I've got a journalist in Berlin, and we're doing this show that's based on his app that curates these stories.
Oh, wow.
And it's the first show where a German and a Jew are coming together to solve problems.
And this way, you'll be near him, and you'll sense if something's stirring up again.
I will know, and I'll be on the front lines.
Yeah, that's right. And you'll let us know?
I will.
Okay.
I'll keep you informed.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, Ed Krasnick, you're a gem. It's so great hanging out with you.
Pleasure.
It's so easy to do a podcast
I could
with
be
you.
here. I could be here a long time. I might be here a long time.
Well, you have to go. You have to go.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.